Hey folks, Noxy here. It's Thursday and it's Dream Tag week. So let's see. I'm going to start with a quick recurring dream that I've had in the past. I've actually already talked about this in a video that I did for the Pen Pals about 3 years ago, and because I feel like it, I'm going to post that footage in here now. What's the weirdest dream you've ever had? I've had a few weird dreams over the years that I've managed to remember, however one was recurring over multiple years. It involved escaping a Super Mario Bros. Castle from Bowser with me, my mother, and brother, and then having to go back with the jewel-encrusted Yoshi egg for some odd reason before the castle imploded. Okay, getting on with it. I shall go with the worst or scariest dream. Yeah, I was driving my old blue 94 Dodge Shadow in a large body of water. I think it was a lake. I knew I couldn't slow down or stop because then my car would sink and I would drown. So I was driving around the perimeter of the lake as fast as I possibly could because I knew I needed to get back on land as quickly as possible. I found my way towards an inlet of water, and as I was turning into it, I could easily see that there was no way that I could get out from this side, so I slowed down the car to back out. As soon as I did that, I obviously started sinking and was so disappointed and frustrated at myself for forgetting such important information as slow down and you will die. So I was about halfway submersed in water, not even struggling, just inwardly cursing at myself for being so stupid and shaking my head when I finally woke up. So now we'll move on to the happier dream. It starts in black and white, and there's an abandoned, empty street. All of a sudden, Kirstie Alley and Tim Allen start walking in from either side, slowly singing the beginning lyrics to I've Had the Time of My Life from the Dirty Dancing soundtrack. They kind of walk slowly towards each other, and then once they reach the center, they start swaying along with the lyrics until that part of the lyric is done. Then it's like a cutscene, and the music gets faster, and they start singing faster, and everything's in color, and there's tons of people everywhere, and the street is full of cars and people, and they're all dancing, and Kirstie and Tim are now swing dancing and singing on top of a taxi cab. And it's vibrant and alive and it's crazy and there's so much going on and it's just a lot of fun to watch. I wasn't actually a part of this dream, I was just watching, but I was quite enjoying it. It was like a fun little musical movie that I was watching in my sleep. And then, before the song could end, I woke up. It was slightly disappointing, only followed by the fact that I realized that my radio was on when I fell asleep apparently, and that song just happened to be playing when I woke up. So that probably had something to do with why I had that specific dream at that specific time. But it was still fun, and I still remember it fondly. Alright, we're gonna finish off with my weirdest dream. I actually thought this dream was so weird that I wrote it down in a blog post back in June of 2011, and I printed it up and I'm going to just read it out to you because it's a little longer than my other ones. So I dreamt I was hanging out with some friends at a friend's house, and then I left. I had this big red rusty pickup truck, and it wasn't slowing down when I hit the turns. One turn was particularly bad, and I ran off the road. This is where the place changes. It no longer looks like my friend's subdivision, but my mind is still registering it as such. There are these major hills, and I was driving through them with wild abandon because I had no brakes. It doesn't help that it had been raining so much that the grass was incredibly soft and yielded easily. As I slid and drove up and down the hills, I couldn't help but cringe every time I knew my truck was leaving tire tracks along the grass. My friend was going to kill me. Then I slid off a particularly tricky hill, off a cliff, and into a shallow pond. I managed to drive out of it, because my car still was not braking, and crashed head-on into a beige, old-school looking muscle car. It effectively stopped my truck, and the person at the wheel of the muscle car then hopped out. It was Pee Wee Herman, in his Pee Wee Herman outfit. He giggled his Pee Wee Herman giggle and said something stupid, then hopped back in his car and backed up away from the collision. The front section of his car was still attached to my truck, so he drove the rest of his car off into the sunset, and then I heard the cops. The scene cuts. I was now in a house that I identified as my ex-boyfriend's. The cops are there apologizing to me for Pee-wee's behavior. He had been blamed for all of the damages due to the subdivision because he was drugged out of his mind and they found open alcohol bottles in the remains of his car. I was off the hook. I felt relief. I went out into the driveway and saw my truck. At least that's what my mind registers. Except now it's white and not rusty and has words on it that I never thought to read because I see them all the time. 2 men are actually in the truck. It looks like a teenager's at the wheel and some adult in coveralls next to him. Then a man shows up and says, "What have y'all done to my truck?" And the coveralled adult turns to the teen and says, "This is your dad's truck?" And I look down at the unreadable words on the door that are still unreadable and I think, oh shit, he's right. And then I wake up and my immediate response is, why the hell was Pee Wee Herman in my dream?